This is Brian Summerfield and Trucker Randy, your defending fathers on 106.3 Patriot Voice.
Welcome back to the program as we are... Got something wrong there.
Yeah, a little echo going on.
There we go.
Brian.
So, welcome back. We've got JB with us, JB Williams, who has done an incredible job of putting together... I don't know why I'm getting echo right now. Done an incredible job of putting together all of this Benghazi information. And
I got a quick question for JB.
yeah, go ahead.
JB, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
I'm just a common truck driver kind of guy, okay? You just said before the break, on September 4th, bold letters, big, huge, hey, something is about ready to happen. Now, everybody in America knows 9/11. This was on September 4th, 9/4. Do you think if something's going to happen, and there's a symbolic date that these people reference in the Quran of 9/11 to justify their attacks on us, the great evil empire, okay, what the heck was Stevens doing in this consulate on September 11th, a week earlier, knowing that something was getting ready to go down?
Well, I'm not sure I can answer that other than speculatively, but, you know, what we know about Benghazi now, the operation there in Benghazi, is that it was a gun-running operation for quote-unquote freedom fighters across the Middle East, where the U.S. government was running support, tactical support, guns to what they consider to be these rebels or freedom fighters in all of these Middle Eastern countries where they were working to topple Middle Eastern governments. And they're still involved in doing that in Syria and in other places right now. Yemen, they're still working on toppling. And so this is an absolute strategy of the White House and the State Department for whatever their purposes are in the end game here for the Middle East. Nothing that's happened in the Middle East over the last 4 years is happening organically. It's all being run out of our own State Department, so including the gun running. So I would assume that they were sitting there because they were instructed to remain sitting there and continue to run guns. And the two SEALs that showed up the day of the attacks, they were not headed towards the Benghazi compound at all. They were sent into the region initially looking for missing shoulder-fire rocket launchers from the gun and running operation, thousands of them. And that's why they were in the region, and they just happened to hear gunfire coming from the direction of where they knew the consulate was or the Benghazi installation was, and they went there to try to help out against orders to not go, by the way. And it's also important for people to understand that while, and this is why Hillary Clinton's testimony is critical, is important, and some of what she said yesterday is quite honestly bold-faced lies. Because as I'm reading this off, or as I'm going over this with listeners right now, as you can see, this thing was a year in the making, at least a year in the making in Benghazi. A week before the events, Ambassador Stevens saying, "Come on, we're desperate here." And at that point, by the way, he's not just sending these cables to the White House or to the State Department or the DOD anymore. He's sending them everywhere. Ag Department, Energy Department, anybody, trying to find anybody who will listen and respond to these requests because they've been ignored for a year now. Mm-hmm. So this notion that Hillary Clinton didn't happen to see a cable or two is nonsense. These cables were coming in for a year.
Right.
Solid. And they were getting louder and louder, and they started sending them to more and more and more Obama agencies, hoping somebody in some agency somewhere would do something.
Do you know what made me so mad yesterday when she made that comment that, well, I'll take responsibility, I just didn't see the cables? Looking at the way that she has been partying and traveling and living it up on her last year in office like this, on the public dime, in not doing her job, it seems to be the norm between both her and our president.
Well, at the same time that these events were unfolding that day, September 11th, in Benghazi, while that was unfolding, that was a 7-hour-long assault on that installation, on that U.S. installation right there. 7 hours long. An hour away, fighter jets were sitting in Italy, and they were told to stand down. We had teams, special forces teams, in less than 2 hours away. They were told to stand down and not respond. And so, and we know these things. This is not something we're speculating about. We know that these things are true. And so, why were they told to stand down? Who told them to stand down? Well, I got to tell you, that's an order that only comes from the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief. Nobody else has the authority to give those orders. And so, the idea that this doesn't go all the way to the top is nonsense. That's why Hillary's trying to throw herself on the sword, so to speak, because they're trying to keep this from getting wrapped around Barack Obama's neck, and yet there's no way to keep it from being wrapped around his neck. The calls that were made in this situation on September 11 last year can only have come from the highest levels, and we do know that he was involved in the decision-making that was going on at that time. So, I want to go on just a little bit here, if it's okay.
It's your hour, man. You preach it.
With what happened directly following that. While the events are happening on the ground, we're already being told on U.S. television and worldwide television that this is the result of a protest against some video nobody ever saw before.
Mm-hmm.
And we went back and backgrounded that, by the way, prior to the federal government telling everybody that this was happening because in protest to this video. That video had been sitting out there on the internet for several months with about 300 views. Okay? Just ahead of that by 24, 48 hours, 72 hours at the most, someone took that video from where it had been sitting on the internet with 300 views and made it more visible. Now, the person who did that worked for a company, used a computer at a company called Stanley Inc. Stanley Inc. is a government defense contractor that works directly with the State Department. You following me?
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Somebody decided to use that video as cover for what was actually happening on the ground, and that's why that filmmaker is sitting in prison right now and has been sitting in prison in California ever since they picked him up, and will not let anybody have access to interviewing him, is because that guy is being made the fall guy. So when Hillary Clinton sits there yesterday screaming at the top of her lungs, thrashing her hands around, saying, what difference does it make? 4 of our Americans are dead, like she gives a hoot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? What difference does it make whether it was with the protest or not? Well, I'll tell you the difference it makes. The protest was a lie. And it wasn't just a lie that they were already prepared to tell 3 days before the event. It was a lie that they continued to tell for 3 weeks after the event.
Right.
And only once they were caught in the trap of the lie did they say, well, it may have had nothing to do with that.
Right.
But what difference does it make is the answer to that now. Well, it makes a big difference because as you continue to follow what happened after the attacks there, let me run down some of that real quick for you, okay? Following that attack, because it's important for people to be able to follow the bouncing ball here, right?
Mm-hmm.
September 11 is the date of the attack. November 14th, Israel launches Operation Pillar of Defense in the Gaza Strip. On the 21st of November, Mohammed Amir, Egyptian foreign minister, and Hillary Clinton, and U.S. Secretary of State, announced a ceasefire that would take effect at 21 GMT. Israel-Gaza ceasefire holds on the 22nd. Egyptian Morsi himself just declares far-reaching powers in Egypt.
Yeah.
Now, Lebanon and Libya are being moved under the command and control of Egypt, which is under the command and control of the Muslim Brotherhood. People need to understand what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? These incidents are not unrelated. On the 26th of November, Clinton Egyptian leader get Israel and Hamas to agree to a continued ceasefire. Clinton powwows with the Egyptian prime minister. And on December 4, Egyptian Morsi leaves the presidency and clashes going on in the streets because of his tyrannical power grab going on there. Now, this is the person that our State Department put in power after they toppled
Mubarak. Yeah.
Mubarak. Yes,
Right.
Mubarak. I was blanking on that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he's in a massive power grab now. Fears return to martial law, yada, yada, yada. And by December, we have the U.S. permitted to conduct special operations on the ground in Egypt with U.S. military forces without congressional oversight or authorization in defense of a tyrannical leader that we put in power when we deposed Mubarak, right?
The same guy we're giving 20 F-16s to and some Abram tanks.
That's exactly right.
Unbelievable.
The same guy we're now arming. Now, this is all White House and State Department operations. And meanwhile, we've got investigations ongoing into what actually happened in Benghazi. Well, if you look at what was happening the year before that event and since that event, it's not hard to figure out what happened in Benghazi, I don't think.
Well, in light of the testimony of Hillary, both in the Senate and then yesterday afternoon in the House, she's on record. She's done. I heard a lot of the news shows last night, these Democrat spin people for the mainstream media saying, okay, it's all over and done with. Hillary's testified. Benghazi's dead. This whole thing is put to bed. We don't need to talk about it anymore. What do we need to do? What documents do we need these congressmen or senators to look at that haven't been brought out to disprove or to prove, actually, that she committed perjury yesterday?
Well, I think it's pretty clear she committed perjury yesterday. It only takes taking yesterday's testimony and to set it alongside of her previous statements on this matter over the last few months, and then setting those statements and yesterday's statements alongside of what we know is true out of these cables, the unclassified versions, and then members of Congress who have access to the classified documents can look further at this situation through documents that have not yet been declassified. And so that's what I would be calling upon your members of Congress to do as far as what the people can do themselves out there on the ground. On our side, the North American Law Center was waiting for yesterday's testimony from Hillary Clinton, and following that, we will now issue FOIA requests for the release of all information on related to Benghazi, the year leading up and the months that have followed since. And we want to look into Darrell Ice's works on Benghazi and his questioning and the testimonies of the different people involved. This thing with Petraeus that went on, that was a setup. You know, Petraeus should have been smart enough not to allow himself to be set up by these people. Petraeus was prepared to go out and tell the American people the truth of what was going on. They shut him down by setting him up in this sex scandal situation so that if he wasn't going to be intimidated by the threat of releasing that information, he was going to be disqualified or
discredited.
Yeah. As a witness of what happened by this sex scandal. So they've got him out of the way. And as I spoke yesterday on another show up there in Michigan with the other gentleman up there, Doug, you know, ahead of testimony, I said, what's going to be interesting is to watch her dog and pony show, which is what we saw yesterday. That was a performance extraordinaire by Hillary Clinton. But the more telling part was what questions would the panels ask and not ask. Well, they didn't ask anything serious, to be honest with you.
All right.
Yesterday, even Rand Paul, who did probably the best job of kind of laying her out up to a point, gave her a pass where he should not have given her a pass. Mm-hmm. And in going into this, I said yesterday morning, I said, watch the testimony, but don't just watch what she's saying. Watch what they are willing to ask and what they're not willing to ask. And the reason is because there are Republicans, specifically John McCain and Graham out of Carolina. Those two guys are up to their eyeballs in what was going on in Benghazi. And even though they're going to put on a dog and pony show, making it look like they're coming hard and fast after Hillary on these issues, at the end of the day, what all of these people want to do right now is to put on the dog and pony show and sweep it under the carpet as fast as it can before the American people learn what actually is going on here, not just in Benghazi, but all across the Middle East. And now we've had the incident recently in Algeria, and the Algeria government, within days, came out and said, look, the 3 people that survived that attack were involved in Benghazi. Well, no kidding.
Mm-hmm. JB,
Okay.
we've got to go to a break right now. When we come back, I've got a question that came in from a listener that I think will be a really great way to end this segment. And I'm going to give it to you before we go to a break, give you a chance to think about it. Is Speaker of the House John Boehner in on the cover-up or just unwilling to investigate committee for political purposes? So think about that during the break. When we come back, we'll talk about that question. A lot more to come. We are your Defending Fathers.
Hi, I'm Greg Marshall. If your professional background is in sales, 106.3 Patriot Voice Radio may have an opportunity for you. All it takes is passion and knowledge of sales to make an impact, and that impact could be you. Consider talking to us about joining 106.3 Patriot Voice Radio. Call 989-745-5581 and ask for me, Greg Marshall, 989-745-5581 for more information. Let's grow together.
PatriotVoice.us.
You must be your fairy godmother.
Cinderella's dream comes true because the glass slipper fits.
It fits.
In our world, the right fit can be just as important, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose a car seat that's the right fit for your child's age and size to make sure your little pumpkin gets there safely every time.
Hop in, dear. Thank you.
For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. This message has been brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Al Roker. Let me tell you what's happening in your neck of the woods. Right now, 1 in 6 Americans don't know where their next meal is coming from. These are our neighbors, friends, our co-workers, but we can do something about it. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find the local food bank in your community. I'm Al Roker, and together, we're Feeding America.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
If you own a home, you need to hear what customers say about ADT monitored home security from Protect Your Home. Betty S. from Atlanta told us,
I love ADT. The alarm system makes me feel safe, even though I live in an area where crime is increasing. The most important thing is peace of mind, sound sleep at night, and comfort when I'm away.
now you can have peace of mind too with your own ADT monitored security system. Call today and get a free security system worth $850. That includes free hardware and fire alert button with $99 installation fee and purchase of monitoring services. But you must call Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer, soon at 877-468-5113. That's 877-468-5113. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $33.99 per month, $1,223.64. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge for new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions may apply. It cannot be combined with any other offer. License number CAACO6320 at FLEC 1303427. Call for additional numbers.
Would your business survive a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now, before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
Good news, everyone. Lumber Liquidators wants to send you a free catalog of hardwood flooring options. Call 877-219-8793. See how you can buy the highest quality flooring for the lowest possible prices. Here's what some of our customers have to say.
I've installed a lot of hardwood floors, but this is the best bang for the buck.
Call in the next 10 minutes to get your free catalog.
I love Lumber Liquidators. I got quality products for less, and the online ordering was easy.
At Lumber Liquidators, we buy direct from the mills, and we pass the savings on to you. Call right now and get the floor guide and catalog absolutely free. It has hundreds of top quality flooring such as solid hardwoods, laminates, bamboos, and even Bellawood pre-finished flooring with a transferable 100-year warranty. Our catalog is full of tips, ideas, and our flooring project list to help you find the right floor for you. Call 877-219-8793 and get your free catalog. 877-219-8793. That's 877-219-8793.
Heart disease is the #1 killer of men and women in America. But did you know that just 30 minutes a day of physical activity can improve your health and decrease your risk of heart disease? An easy way to work physical activity into your regular routine is to start walking. For every hour of regular, vigorous exercise, you gain 2 hours of life expectancy. So start walking for yourself and for your heart. Start walking with your family. You'll feel better. Start walking with your friends. You'll live longer. Start walking in your community. You'll lead happier and healthier lives. Start walking. Start something. Join the movement today. For more information on the American Heart Association START program, visit startwalkingnow.org. And start walking. Start something.
Welcome back to the program. Final segment of this hour. I'm Brian Summerfield with Trucker Randy. We're your defending fathers. J.B. Williams on with us. Final couple minutes of this hour. And J.B., you have been great. Incredible information. Appreciate your hard work. And actually, this is the hard type of reporting and news that our mainstream media should be doing to defend and uphold our First Amendment rights.
Incidentally, we turned these briefs over to the mainstream press too, and they didn't use them either, just like the Romney campaign. So,
unbelievable.
I will answer the question that was asked just ahead by simply saying that Congress has abdicated its duties for years now, especially over the last 4 years. They haven't passed a single budget in 4 years. They're not keeping that part. They have not been asked to, nor have they authorized any of the military actions taken by the Obama administration over the last 4 years. And the administration has put agency and military people on the ground in at least 8 or 9 different Middle Eastern countries since it took office in 2009. None of it run by Congress, none of it approved by Congress. So when you ask now on the backside of that, on the backside of something like Benghazi, coming out of the results of essentially the State Department and White House operating all alone here without any congressional oversight at all, you allow that to happen and it goes bad like it did in Benghazi. Everybody starts looking for how to cover each other's tail at that point. And they all share, to some degree, equal responsibility in that event. And if it's an impeachable offense, frankly, probably 2/3 of Congress and the White House and all of these different agencies need to lose their jobs and be charged with, at a minimum, that charge. Looking beyond that, I want to come back to one of the things I said early in the show. When you're investigating something, you can't just watch what the right hand's doing. The right hand's the one they want you to watch. You have to watch the left hand too. This stuff is much larger than Benghazi. Benghazi happens to be a situation that blew up in their face, that got out of control on them, and blew up in their face, and it is embarrassing the administration and threatening the administration's viability looking forward. And that's why they kicked it down the road. That's why they pushed the situation out there with Petraeus in order to move the discussion on Benghazi past the election. Had all this stuff started coming out ahead of the election very likely would have had a very different outcome.
Good point. Good, Randy. You said you had a quick question. We've got about 20 seconds.
My bottom line is, why wouldn't Romney and these Republican senators and congressmen that hate this president so much, why wouldn't they actually ask the tough questions, and why didn't they bring it up?
They've got blood on their hands.
Good response. I think I would agree with that too. JB, appreciate it. Incredible information. Can't wait to see where this goes. We're trying to blow it up today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate everything you fellows are doing. I wanted to just tell people, if they want to know more, get in touch with us. Go to NorthAmericanLawCenter.org. Get in contact with us. Help support the works we're doing if you can. And thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much.